What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Bobby Fi here. Sheets is out tonight, so it's going to be just me. We're going to go through this slate. I'm going to pull up my screen and talk about what we've got so far, what we're looking out for, and we'll probably have to go game by game just to see what's out there. Anyway, all right. So let's take a look at it. Let me pull up the screen here and see where I'm at right now. It's just going through a few things. Look, so yeah, forget my mins. It's just a reminder to get players, and then I'll up and change them when before the last ones. But as of right now, it's kind of hard to ignore the Keita chalk, assuming that he does start. Don't be totally shocked if they start Luke Cornett, and don't be shocked if Luke Cornett ends up having a decent game at 3,400 here. I actually am forcing in some Cornett. I think I've got him around 10%. Where is he? No, on my last rebuild, it did not let me have him. But that's weird. I have a minimum set of 8. I'm going to rebuild this again. I think it's an interesting tournament play, and it's picking up a little bit of steam. I'm going to go a little bit higher and make sure they give me some of it. I'm not buying that projection, and I think there is a chance for Cornett as a pivot off of Keita. Like Keita, obviously, I understand the Pritchard play. I'm totally good with that one. Hauser also is another one that shows up quite a bit. But in terms of what we're looking for, let's start with that, I guess. We've got Embiid as a big game time decision question mark. That's going to, I already am going to play some Yabusele. As you can see, I want to just make sure to force some of them in as in there. By the way, yes to both of those TJs. But Atlanta and the Pacers Bucks game are both good game stacks. So the answer is yes on those as far as I'm concerned. But again, we're waiting on news there. We're waiting on Embiid, obviously. I'm still shocked that Ben Simmons is playing because he hasn't played against this team. Look, whatever, the field's going to have 0 of them. I'm going to throw him out there in a couple lineups because I can't help myself. And again, not getting to a bunch of it, but it is something that I think is an interesting way to get different. We know who's playing for the Celtics. I think that if anything else was happening, we would have probably heard by now. So it's really the first games. By the time they come, we're really just waiting on the Embiid news. And because I really like the spend ups here, I want to be overweight. By the end of the time I'm done, I'll be overweight Jaylen Brown. You can see I wanted the minimum to be lower. Really think this is the Jaylen Brown big time breakout game, and I think that not even breakout, just another big game for him. And I want to get Derek White. I'm okay to end up with some of Tatum, but I don't think you have to. It's such a good matchup. You kind of want exposure to everybody here. And that's pretty much what I got. But the one that's not popping for anybody is the Cornett. And I'm totally good with the Cornett idea. It could work in a blowout. It could work a lot of different ways. I actually earlier today was trying to talk myself. Can they even get? Is there anybody else we could even get in there? Because there is. We've seen them do funky things with their lineups a couple times this year. I just don't think Tillman's going to end up playing, but it did cross my mind. I'll just throw that out there. So those are really just Embiid for the first games. We can sort of just adjust as we go after that. We have everybody I think we're going to have. And by the way, getting 0 of Steph doesn't feel like the right number. So I want to make sure I at least have a couple and maybe force him in. Lindy Waters, I'm fine with. Like, he was going to be really popular, it looked like earlier in the day. If no one's going to play him, then I'll play him as added value to either the Keita, the Cornett, as I mentioned. Trace Jackson Davis, I'm fine with it. Don't really want to go overweight. Just happy to get some of it. Okay. Yeah. Washington may stay close, by the way. And if they do, let's go all of the Celtics. I mean, you're probably going to end up with 4 Celtics with Flames if that game stays close, and maybe 5. McCain is, I guess, the question. Well, so they just announced they're going to up Tyrese Maxey's minutes tonight. I actually think that Maxey would be the way that I would want to go. McCain at this price, if I end up with a little bit of it, I'm okay with it. But I actually think that Maxey is going to be an interesting play. And obviously, if Embiid's out, Maxey goes into being a popular play. But if we're going to say that Max is going to have no time constraints and he's going to play 32 minutes, right now this projection is based on, let me just grab the minutes. It's based on Maxey playing 29. If you bump that up to 36, all of a sudden we're talking about a different play. If you take Embiid out of the mix, then Maxey's one of the best plays on the slate. Simple. But I'm not forcing Eddie McCain. If he gets there, great, fine, no problem. There's plenty of other guys. It's like even if he gets there, it's not like we're looking at 50 most of the time here from him or anything like that. Especially as long as Embiid is still officially questionable and possible to play. This is a big wait and see. We have to. I mean, we know that probably one of these guys is sitting, right? Like, that's just the feeling I get. Maybe all of them play, but all of a sudden these other plays are going to start looking reasonable. I already like the Shaedon Sharpe a little bit anyway in this matchup. I think that Robert Williams and Klingon are getting well overlooked by the field. So again, just making sure I have some of them, going to try to be overweight both of those guys as well. Go down to the Houston side. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I like Şengün and I like Van Vliet. I think Jabari Smith also makes a lot of sense at the price. The only thing I worry about with the Smith is it does feel very fluid. So you want to make sure you get some Tari Eason also, who's just smashed a million times this season. I also want to make sure I get some Amin Thompson. I really wanted to take a little bit of everybody here. If I end up with a little bit more than the field, I'd be fine with these guys. The one I didn't like, they kept trying to give me was like 50% Dylan Brooks. I get it. The price, 3,800, the minutes, I get it. I just couldn't quite click that button as chalky Dylan Brooks when, we've had this situation a million times. It's honestly only plays like 20 minutes because, we've got him right now projected in minutes at, what do we have him at? 30. He's played 21 and 20 in the last 2 games, 27 the game before that. He did play, in the 30s with all the games before that, but even then, we barely scratching over 20 fantasy points, which is fine for that price. But I just like the other guys in that range a little bit better than I like him. We'll get over to that in a minute. TJ, just give me a second. Let me go through everything. And I'm happy to answer. You guys can fire him in. Actually, I'll answer him when I'm able to. Look, at some point he's going to break out of it, and it's been awful to watch Halliburton become this version of himself. I am not entirely sure what happened. I also am curious to see what the starting lineup ends up coming in. And one guy I'm going to force in if he's starting, obviously, and I'm trying to get it to give me some, is the Jackson. Did we get news just now that's making, because I'm looking at a projection that has something I was a little surprised to see. Yeah, I'm looking at starting lineups that are projecting Quentin Jackson to start. I'll gamble there if I need to. So I'll get to that. Let's keep rolling. Milwaukee, obviously everybody we know is going to play. I think this projection is fairly low on Giannis, but one thing I want to point out, there's not this screaming value that we've had. There may be, but we don't have it yet. I have Jokic rated ahead of Giannis, but Giannis averages like 75 against these guys. Maybe I could get some Jokic. The thing is, Jokic averages 72, period. That's what he's averaging for the season. Jokic hasn't been below 60 in any game he's played. So I like the idea of trying to get both of them if the value opens up. If it doesn't, I think that definitely getting some Giannis at lower ownership is okay. Not as high on the Lillard thing myself, and nobody else I'm forcing in on the Milwaukee side. Although I should have mentioned on Indiana, I do kind of like Miles Turner in these matchups. He tends to play pretty well in this spot. They play the drop coverage, so he's going to have that 3-point line open. I think it's a pretty interesting spot for him. Atlanta and the Bulls is my favorite, like, on paper game. Again, give me everybody who's going to have any involvement in these games, and I want at least some of them. Basically, I really, really think you have the nut matchup with the teams that play the fastest and play the poorest defense. I think you want to have exposure to both sides. The Bulls are going to be heavily owned. I'm going to definitely make sure I'm well over on Jalen Johnson, and I'm going to make sure I'm well over on Trae Young, or not well over on Trae Young. I'm going to make sure I'm near the field on Trae Young. I didn't realize he's going to end up 25%, but I like that play. On the Bulls side, it's just you're going to want a little bit of everybody, but maybe pivot where I said earlier in the day, I'll pivot to who's on the least. It's going to be Vooch. I like some other centers now, so that's why Vooch is getting the lowest ownership. I like the idea of using some Vooch as well. But again, you want to have exposure to all of these guys, and then even just make sure I have a little bit of Jalen Smith by the end of the day. Again, I'm going to rerun these things with the news that's coming in. I've got my NBA news pulled up. It looks like nothing for today. Just all for tomorrow right now. All right, moving on. So yeah, I actually put in one of my things as in terms of games to stack. I just want to make sure I have at least 10% of Atlanta, Chicago. You can see I'm in there with 33%. But I'm probably going to go even higher. It's the only game I made that rule for, but I do like that rule. I'm in on the Jaden Hardy at low ownership also as taking a stab. I just think that without Luka, we should at least be taking some stabs at these guys. I'm not even sure that it benefits necessarily Klay Thompson, but somebody's going to have to score. I think PJ Washington is one I could talk myself into getting over on. And I think that the Jaden Hardy is at low ownership. I have him at just as a minimum of 5, but I'm going to end up with probably double-digit ownership of him unless we get other value that we haven't heard about yet. For what it's worth, of Dorian Finney-Smith is available today. I don't think that was anything surprising to any of us. Jokic, this is the biggest Q mark on the slate, and it's a 7 o'clock game. I'm assuming that he plays. I'm assuming that we get Jokic as a full go. I'll throw in a sprinkle of Russ just because we know there's a ceiling and it could come at any point. But nobody else is going to stand out with the prices bumped up with Jokic coming back. I do like Jokic as my favorite spend up right along with Giannis. I have him ahead. Jokic is projected at 63 fantasy points tonight, okay? He hasn't been injured, okay? He's healthy. You're playing against a Dallas team that gives it up, especially to bigs. that he just scored 92 against. He's averaging 72 on the season. Why is his projection 63? I think it's a bad median projection. That's what my take is. And looking through the industry with Sheets and Goldie have, they've got him a little bit higher. I feel a little better about that. I'm actually going to go ahead and make this one 66. I think that's a little bit, and I know it's only a few points, but those things make a difference. So I do want to, I just think that's a little too low for him in this particular matchup. He hasn't scored below 60 this season. So it's pretty wild, actually. This feels like a spot where I kind of wanted, early in the day, I was sort of flirting with the De'Aaron Fox or Sabonis idea. I think I'm kind of off of it, to be honest. I actually like Lamar back in LA. I just don't like the price tag. I could talk myself into taking a stab at him. It's just, if he was 7K, I would do it. At 77, I don't feel like I need to on this slate. For the Clippers, with no Norman Powell, the bumps haven't been as much as you'd think. And we've got Mo Bamba in here with the 5X projection. Sure. Okay. If I end up with it, I end up with it. Same thing with if I end up with a little bit of coffee because it's a later game I can swap out. Sure. Fine. The one I'm definitely going overweight on is Zubac. I think Zubac has a chance to have a big night here. And it's a stand I'm taking. I want to be at least 3 times the field, and I want to be at least 3 times the field in Kevin Porter Jr. Those are 2 guys I could see having really good games against a fast-paced Sacramento team, and they are not getting the ownership that I would think they would. Now, maybe I don't end up with as much of them because some other value opens up. Either way, I'm going to force in some Zubac. I really like that play tonight. I think it's a really good way to get different. And I think that we've seen Zubac's ceiling late, this season. I think this is the kind of matchup where you could see it from him again. The only time he's really struggled this year has been specifically we had the bad game against OKC and he had 2 bad games against Houston. Other than that, Zubac has kind of been the man for the most part. He's also, put up a 60, a 58 in there. I think that this could be a big spot with Norman Powell out. I think he could see a boost. That's Kadir. The favorite play at each position is going to be meaningless if we hear any news. So I'll do it for the sake of why you're asking. Let me just run to my clear everything out and run to my. I'll just go to my exposure. These are not like saying favorite play is always a weird thing because it's like what if one of your favorite plays is 3K and one of your favorite plays is 2K? I'm sorry, one of your favorite plays is 10K. They're just different things. So Trae Young is my highest owned spend up. Peyton Pritchard is my highest owned mid tier. Not spending down for anybody at point guard. Shooting guard right now, currently Kobe White is my highest owned shooting guard. You could also play Peyton Pritchard over there, but I think Jaylen Brown is my favorite. Not even get different, but to get over the field, go out of your way to get yourself Jaylen Brown tonight. I like the Jaylen Brown, and I like Derek White also, even though he's a little bit lower on my list right now. He's going to end up being in a good portion of my lineups. Small forward, you can see I've ended up with a decent amount of Tatum, and Hauser is my spend down. Pretty much what you'd expect with the value out there. It worries me a little bit to play this value like the Hauser, and that's my issue with the Cornet too, except for he's so low owned. It worries me to use the value early in case we hear something later, because there is just so much out there in an NBA day where these things happen. Right now, is that right? Yabusele, so I'm pretty spread out at power forward. Yabusele is my spend down. I do like Yabusele. And along Jabari, it looks like I'm spending down a lot here. Robert Williams. My favorite contrarian spend up is Jalen Johnson. So that's what I'm doing there. Center, Keita. I have a lot of Valanciunas at the moment, and I'm surprised that he's not getting some ownership here. It's interesting to see what they'll do. You could say they play better with him off the, whatever they want to match up more with Boston. They keep him off the floor. Or maybe he just beats the hell out of these guys down low and keeps the Wizards in the game. I like getting to some of the Valanciunas. I mentioned I like Klingon as a contrarian. And I'm getting to some Embiid as a spend all the way up. I also have a little bit of Ben Simmons and Trace Jackson Davis, but not quite where the field is on Trace Jackson Davis. So that's sort of each position. Thoughts on Dyson Daniels? Look, again, like I said with Atlanta before, yeah, maybe you get some of everybody. It's a good matchup for upside, but they've got more guys back now than they've had. We've got Bogdanovich back in our lives. So yeah, I'll throw the 2% on him. I'm not going out of my way to play Dyson Daniels. The steal rate thing, the ways he gets there is not like repeatable, except for he's done it so many times. And you see, like in the last game, it's really hard to talk yourself into it with them being the most healthy they've been. Remember, his 2 biggest games were without Trae and without Bogdanovich, and without DeAndre Hunter. All of those guys are here now. So I'm not getting to it, but I'm not going to fault anybody playing anybody in that game. I'm not doing any FanDuel builds. I'm protesting FanDuel. I will show you. I will answer any FanDuel direct questions, but I'm not going to do any builds. Also, I don't want to do builds in general. I want our site members. So we're going to start doing some more of these shows for premium, because just doing free builds for people so they can see what everybody's getting, it just takes away the value of the product to the people who are actually paying us for it. So we can't really just run out there and throw builds. I'll tell you what, if you ask me a FanDuel question, I'll answer it, but I'm protesting FanDuel for not paying everybody back for last night. And until I hear that I have, I'm not going to be doing anything with them. What happens if Jokic doesn't play? It's the same thing we've had every single game, Average Joe. You play the Westbrook, you play the Murray, you play some of the Porter, you play some of the Brown, you play some of the Peyton Watson, you play some of the Strother. It's the same exact guy. So the answer to the Westbrook one is the same thing that's been every single night so far. No problem, Kadiri. Let's see what else is there. Do I like Elf? So I don't know where we stand. The Elf thing was a because they had no players. It really depends on who ends up playing for them. We still have the let me just go here. We still have the Q tag. Well, actually, we only have the Q tag on Missy, so they officially announced everybody else in. If Elf Payton starts, I'll play some of him. If he doesn't, there's no way I'm playing him, because it's going to be Jordan Hawkins getting the run, and Elf was like a case of emergency guy. 4,100, you could argue for taking a stab, but I don't think I'm going to do it. I do really like Trey Murphy in that game. But they're right now we have more bodies than they had. Remember, they had no Brandon Ingram, they had no Jordan Hawkins. That's why Elf started. They're going to start. I would be shocked if they started Elf over these guys. It's possible, but even if they do, it might be a little bit of a trap, to be honest. I don't think I like that play very much. Yeah, FanDuel, that's inexcusable. It's disgusting. And they have no right, when your product doesn't work and some people are losing tens of thousands of dollars because your product doesn't work, that's your fault and you have to fix it. And I'm not touching your site until you do the right thing. Ben Simmons revenge game. Yeah, I played a little bit. I'm playing a little bit of it. I feel like a sucker, but I'm playing a little bit of it. Torrey Craig is not really a value play. It's like 4,500. Where are you getting these plays from, TJ? I mean, I guess, sure. If you go have fun with it. You still don't have Patrick Williams. If you want to expect him to do what he did the other night, I think that would be very, very wishful thinking. And even that's not like that amazing at 4,500. If you want to do it, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you not to, but Torrey Craig is not a guy I got to in any of my builds, and I'm certainly not going to try to go out of my way to get to him. If you wanted to make a case for somebody that's at low value, I think Julian Phillips would maybe be a guy you could consider. What if you get a couple fouls on him and they throw Phillips in there? They could throw Dalen Terry. There's nothing that's making Craig stand out. We saw Torrey Craig play 30 minutes a game for years, and like 1 out of 10, he'll put up 30 fantasy points. Why? It's the right matchup, but like, why are we doing it? You know what I mean? We got to really think about that. Why would we be playing Torrey Craig? If it happens to get there, sometimes it's going to happen. Sometimes just by the randomness of the way games are played, it's going to happen. If there was one more guy out, I would be in, but I need something else, I'm looking at the minutes, and they're going to probably have him pretty high minutes-wise, 27. So you have a guy who's historically less than a point per minute player by he's like 0.8 career or something like that. He's one of the lower ones. But sure, we've also seen Torrey Craig have some games here and there, and I can't really justify. It's usually like a random 5 steals or 4 threes that he hits or 5 threes that he hits. Maybe. Not for me. All right, other questions and thoughts. I'm gonna rebuild my lineups and sort of give you guys an idea of where I'm at. I think things are still going to change because I still feel like some of the projections are actually updating a little bit. All right. Oh my God. Cannot look at any political thing. It's the biggest shit show ever. TJ, you asked this question the other night with Jokic without Jokic out. Do I think Murray's underpriced? I said, with Jokic out, Murray's a good play, like up to 9K. With Jokic in, there's no way in the million years I'm playing Murray at 8,700. It's the best game to stack and the best 2 studs. All right, Jokic and Giannis, and the best games to stack are Indy, Milwaukee, and Atlanta, Chicago. That should be that's what I'm doing anyway. Irving got bumped like crazy in price because there's no Luka. These are not complicated ones. They're very straightforward. They actually, Kyrie is actually an interesting play tonight. All right, this is getting annoying. Getting too many messages. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Let's run a sim, and I'll give you guys an idea of where I'm at. Why not so high on? I just think A lot of these questions feel very. Why you promised me, TJ? TJ, why is Jokic out? If you promise me Jokic isn't playing, why is he out, and why will he continue to be out? What is your bet on this one? I want to hear it. Is there any announcement that I've missed? Because I haven't seen it. They're at home. He's already missed more games with having a baby than most people. Yeah, you can take the angle that Jokic isn't playing. I'll have enough room left to try and swap over to those guys because I like some of the later stuff. But like I said, I'll force in some of the other plays on the other side, kind of Kyrie, basically everybody from Dallas, and I like the Clippers. So I'll switch that over, but I don't need to do that. Do I like Fox tonight? Not especially. It feels like just a normal spot. It's actually a bad match to play the Clippers. They play slower. But Fox can always get there. I just think I'd rather play Kyrie, I think, than Fox. It's a gut feeling, but what's your gut feeling based on? Like the real thing, we knew ahead of time. Sheets and I figured it out that the Jokic would miss the other ones. They were on the road, or all this, and they had a baby. Now they've had days off and all the stuff. They need to win games. I would bet more than likely that Jokic plays tonight, and I would bet if he wasn't going to play tonight, we would have heard about it by now. But there's always a chance. But you're just speculating on a guy who is not even injured. There's no injury. We're just speculating about how does he want an extra day home with his wife? If the team waits until like 8 Eastern to announce that, that's just going to piss me off. But I'm going to deal with it. I'm not going to assume that Jokic isn't playing tonight. It doesn't make any sense to me. He wasn't at shoot around. That's interesting. That boosts it. You know what, TJ? You boost your argument a little bit. Boost your argument a little bit. If he's not at shoot around, and I did not have that news that he wasn't at shoot around today, but. I still think I'm leaning towards that. All right. What is the other thing? So yeah, the Trace Jackson Davis, it feels extremely chasey, this Trace Jackson Davis play. So here's the way I'd put it. If he ends up less than 10% owned, I would get overweight. Otherwise, I'll just be like near the field or below. What's our big argument for why Trace Jackson Davis is going to go off? Yes, he's cheap, but he's honestly what we're talking about, most of the games he's played this year are like 14, 15, 16 minutes. So why are we assuming that because he had one outlier game at 36 fantasy points, which is just going to happen sometimes, and that's why it's worth to take a dart on him, but not to play him at semi-chalkish ownership. That's my take for the Trace Jackson Davis. If you want to get creative, I don't think you can really play Kevin Looney, but I think you can make an interesting bet that who plays more minutes tonight. I think Looney has every bit of chance to do that. Okay, where are these quotes, TJ? Post them for me because I haven't seen that specifically said. So how can he have no update? It's paternal. It's paternity. Okay, TJ, I give you a little more credit now for the take. I'm giving it to you. I didn't read the shoot around thing. I know he missed Thursday's practice. Unless there's something wrong with the baby or something, which I really hope isn't the case. I don't really see why they would do that. All right, so let's see what I'm getting exposure wise after making my current tweaks. And do we run the sim? We did. So let's take a look at where my exposure is, and let's bring it over here. It's kind of spread out a little bit more than I would have thought. All right, maybe it's not. Okay, there. Yeah, see, it's pretty spread out. So yeah, you can see Kada. You can see a lot of Celtics in here. Obviously, that's going to be chalky, but not as chalky in certain spots. Again, I like the white. I like the brown tonight. Those are the ones I'm heaviest on. Jabari, I'm not thrilled with playing the chalk Jabari. I'm really not. I might lower this number because I think it's very fluid with the Rockets. So what I'm going to do, because we're getting so much and the projection sims like him so much, I'm going to go higher on my ownership for Tari Eason because I think that's an easy, it's obviously slightly different price in a pivot. And I also want to go a little bit higher on Amen Thompson. We're getting 7, 8, 9, 10%. I'll go 8 here. All right. How much am I playing of PJ Washington? Let's see. Right now, I did put him in a few things, 5%. And that's probably high. But he's part of the later game, so I may end up with 0 because I'll be late swapping all night long. We had a fun little late swap show. If I'm able to do it tonight, I'll do it, but I'm going to be up at my family's. But we'll see. We'll see about the Jokic thing. Anyway, guys, click a like for us. Do us a favor. This is sort of where I'm at right now. I can't really do much more than say exactly what I'm doing at this moment. But I'm telling you, more than likely, it's going to change drastically because we always know that one player's out, the whole slate changes. So One thing that's weird is this Curry ownership. I understand it's not a good matchup, but like, can't we just say like, okay, Steph Curry's like just good enough to take a shot on? Oops, not 125%. Should we take a little bit of a shot on him when no one else is going to play him? 0.7% ownership. That seems kind of crazy. That's where, look, this is so right beyond the rabbit hole. That's exactly how I feel about Halliburton tonight, which is going to leave me right near the field. 15% versus 16%. I still want to have some of it. He's crushed this team in the past. We'll see. I also want to know what happens with Ben Shepherd and Jarris Walker here, because I'm telling you, Quentin Jackson, who's not even like on anyone's radar and wasn't the other night even after he got started at 3K. That's the play. That's a play I can definitely talk myself into, the Quentin Jackson. I will talk myself into that for sure. If we get those guys out. All right, guys, we appreciate you as always. Good luck to everybody tonight. Crush it, and give us a like, a thumbs up, and we'll see you guys at the top of the leaderboards a little later. I'll see everybody else in Discord. I'll update